I see some of our participants have already logged into our Zoom line, and I think we have callers waiting on the line too. And I think our Facebook is live, waiting for confirmation from staff. So just bear with us for just another minute or two here. I'm Senator Henry Stern, by the way, your host today for this town hall. And we'll kick off shortly. Okay, just confirmation. We're going live now. Two minutes, folks. I'm getting a 2-minute countdown. And for those of you waiting for us to get started here, please know that you can still send in questions either through our live stream or through our email account, senator.stern@sen.ca.gov. And we'll try to do our best to accommodate and let, find room for your live questions to enter the conversation here too. So you're not just passively listening or watching. So send us an email or weigh in on our live stream, and we'll be monitoring that as this goes on. Just give me 30 more seconds here to make sure we've got all our different channels live. I may be a millennial senator, but I'm not very good at this. Thank you to my staff to make me look good, or semi-good. Good to go. Okay, just got word. We're up, we're live, we're getting started. So again, Senator Henry Stern here, coming to you from my my living room, and my wife may be walking in a second, so apologies. This is what staying at home and being safe looks like, but thank you for everyone tuning in. We're joined today by some of our smartest small business thinkers in Southern California, some of my favorite business owners in Southern California, places I like to eat, drink a beer, or go live my life, which has been put on hold, as I know so many of yours have, as well as some of our leaders from labor and our frontline workers, our hotel workers, and some other key groups who really are going through what you're going through every single day. So what we're hoping to do here off the top is get a little bit of testimony from some of our participants so you understand some real world perspective. And those of you who are not a business owner but who may love going to a restaurant and are wondering what's going to happen to them, and will they survive? Because I think you're going to get some sobering and upsetting news. I don't think this will be a completely satisfying town hall, and I don't want to promise you all off the bat today that you're going to have a perfect answer to your questions. If your hours have been cut, or if you're a 1099 employee and you're out of work and you're trying to figure out how to deal with the long wait lines at EDD. There's a lot of other challenges in the system, but today is really a chance for us to hear from you and to put me to work for you so that I can be a better advocate along with all my colleagues in the legislature, your mayor, your supervisors. We talk to the governor daily. So just know that even if this is not perfect, it'll give us ammunition to go to battle for you and hopefully improve your situation in what is an incredibly perilous economic time. We know that we've already had a number of businesses failing in the region, and many, even though they're struggling, are still staying up and running to do things like feed our healthcare workers, or supply critical essential services. But a lot of other folks are hurting out there. So we want to start by just doing a quick run through of where things stand right now. So let me give you a quick update for everybody, and then we'll dive in. Few key items. So about a week ago, the governor issued a moratorium on all evictions statewide through May 31st. That goes for both commercial and residential. And it covers all those who have lost work or who have fallen ill or have to take care of a family member. There's also city orders and county orders on non-eviction. We're going to talk about how some of the major financial institutions are behaving in a very real-time basis, but there are guidelines that have been issued for forbearance of mortgage payments for up to 90 days for those economically impacted by the virus. But we'll hear some real-time testimony about how exactly that's going. Our tax assessors, both in LA and Ventura County, are working to waive late fees and penalties for taxpayers facing economic hardship. Property tax revenue is obviously very important for us to be able to continue delivering our services. So we're trying to deal with hardships as they come, but if you can't afford to pay by the April 10th, which is the pending deadline, please do so and don't take advantage of this situation for those who may otherwise have hardships. The governor just signed an executive order also that will provide tax, regulatory, and licensing extensions for businesses. And that order allows our Tax and Fee Administration to offer a 90-day extension for tax returns and tax payments for all businesses filing a return of less than $1 million in taxes. So basically, if you're that small of a business, you'll have till the end of July for those first quarter returns to come through, what they do come through. And then the last announcement from this week, from the small business perspective, is that we put an initial supplement of $50 million together within the state infrastructure bank to hopefully start to gap fill some of the issues we've seen coming out of the federal stimulus package, the $2 trillion package, and go to get cash into the hands of businesses now who may not be able to keep their employees working because the terms of the SBA loans, the small business loans, are just not working for them. A quick recap of some of our tougher details. As of today, we've had 221 confirmed cases out of Ventura County with 6 deaths, and LA County with over 6,000 cases, 6,360 confirmed cases, and 147 who we've lost. So with that sobering note and acknowledging the limited time our participants have today, I'm going to get started with the introductions. Joining us today, I think it looks like my right in our Brady Bunch screen, but who knows where it is for those of you tuning in, is Nancy Hoffman. She's got the big bright yellow sign behind her, and she's the president of the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce. and still smiling, even though she's fighting like heck to protect all her members. Ray Bowman has been excellent, and thank you for joining us again, Ray, from our Economic Development Collaborative. They are our technical assistants in chief to help you through the loan processes with SBA and some of the other facilities that are out there, but know that Ray and his team are also under a ton of pressure and have been processing a number of high volume intake these days. So we'll hear from Ray about how he can help you guys and some of the challenges they've been facing with the influx. From Unite Here, which is our local labor unions, working with our hospitality, food service, and even transportation industries. We have Daniel Wilson and Walter Almendarez. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, some of my favorite small business owners in the region, Brian Wilson from 818 Brewing in Canoga Park, and Sandra Cordero, who runs Gasolina Cafe in Woodland Hills, right off Ventura Boulevard. So I want to start off with Ms. Hoffman, and can you just talk a little bit about what the Chamber's been doing out there to try to help small businesses, and talk about your Save Small Business Coalition that you've been championing, not just here locally, but throughout the state and even nationally?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having us here, Senator. As chambers, we view ourselves as first responders to the business community. And during times like these, that we're the reliable source of important information. We have the connections to important resources. We have the flexibility and agility to change as the needs of the community change. So we are closest in touch right now with information and help our businesses need. And I'm sure all of you know there's been a deluge of information that everyone's experiencing. And so as a chamber, we serve as that sieve to disseminate it. So what we've done is we've created a one-stop website, because every week we're sending out the same information all of you are, but we park it on sfdresource.com. So that's San Fernando Valley, sfdresource.com, because we don't want people to have to go back through a deluge of emails trying to find where we talked about loan information or anything else of that nature. So there's access to capital there. We're going to start adding what businesses have discounts. We're trying to tell people that just because you're closed at your office doesn't mean your business is closed. Some people might be, but a lot of them are just working remotely. So we started a website or a Facebook page, hashtag SFB, San Fernando Valley, open for business. And that's where anyone in the business community, they don't have to be a member of the chamber, can put down what they're doing and with their business, what they have to offer. So people know who's open for business and what's available to them in services. So with this being a hub, we're looking at turnaround already. So I'm going to talk about Save Small Business Coalition, but I know we already are getting the information about the loans and everything. So we have a webinar this week. It's a Q&A on the business loans with Catherine Grooms from the SBDC, who's going to talk to people about applying for the loans. And then we also have a webinar this week with our turnaround on prospecting for sales in uncertain times. Because we can't just wait till the government says, yeah, we're going to be open tomorrow. We need to start getting ready and ramping up our plans and getting our business community ready for that. And with that, we're trying to find those different types of resources. We've already done a lot of webinars, which we have available on our YouTube channel with attorney, the legal attorneys that are guiding people through the CARES Act and all those different things. And those are still available, and our members have been resourceful and open to giving some free consultations to anyone that needs it. But we need to start focusing our businesses on the turnaround. Otherwise, they will not be ready when it happens. And then with Save Small Business Coalition, which is my baby, I'm really excited about it. A few weeks ago, right when all the civil authority happened, we had some important calls, one from Brian Olson from 818 Brewing, who's on the call, and a couple of our other members who said that not only can they not apply and or not claim their business interruption insurance, some insurance carriers weren't even letting them apply for it, even though they've been paying insurance. One company told me they paid $18,000 in the last year and still couldn't claim it. So we started the Save Small Business Coalition. It first started off as 7 other chambers, and now we've grown to almost 90 chambers across the United States. And we are working together to find a solution for business continuity, because business continuity is not an exemption in insurance plans. So we're still working in California. We're working really closely with a bunch of our legislators like Senator Stern and Assemblyman Nazarian and Senator Glazer in Northern California to find a solution for California. But we know this is a national problem. So the Save Small Business Coalition is now partnered with the Coalition for Insurance Carriers. so we can mutually find a solution and try to get the money in businesses' hands as quickly as possible. And I want to also thank you, Senator, for connecting us to Greg, who's also on this call, because the Hospitality Industry Association just joined us today at the Safe Small Business Coalition as well.
Very exciting. Yeah, we'll be hearing from the council member a little later on, I think, about what he's been doing in hospitality. Ray, do you want to jump in just real quick and give another overview on what is EDC, and what do you guys do there, and how, just a quick glance, sort of at a glance of how you guys are helping?
Sure, and thank you, Senator Stern. So the EDC is the Economic Development Collaborative for Ventura County, and I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center. So the Small Business Development Center program is an SBA program that provides technical assistance for small and medium-sized businesses, and I'm part of one of 9 centers that belong to the Los Angeles network. So Nancy had just mentioned the College of the Canyon Small Business Development Center. So that's part of our network. Just to give you an idea of the scope of sort of what we're dealing with as small business advisors, the LA network makes up about 150 advisors spread out through 9 different centers. A typical center like ours will probably see 600 clients in a year. In the last 3 weeks, we've talked to over 2,000 businesses. So, that just gives you a scale of what we're looking at. And we've had to scale up our operations by 3-fold in order to meet that demand. So one of the things that we provide in addition to our regular resources is providing some guidance throughout this, what we call a disaster response. So if I share my screen here, this directs you to our website. So for anyone interested, if you go on to edcollaborative.com, the first thing you'll see is our webpage here. And if you scroll down, so once you get to our main webpage, it's going to bring you to this site. And when the site loads up, one of the things you're going to see is 2 different buttons. And so there we go. So the one button is to click for our resource guide. This other button is our hotline. So we have staff, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 manning this hotline. It's 805-409-9159. That will connect you to one of our service specialists who will intake you in the program. And again, your tax dollars pay for our program. So there's no charge to you, but we need to intake you into the program. And then what we're doing is, because we have such a huge demand, we don't want anyone to wait. So we're setting up people in small cohorts to go over all the loan programs that are available, to go over all of the unemployment programs and other assistance. And we're putting them in groups of about 20 to go over these questions. And then after that, we set the participants up with an advisor that will help them with any questions that they'd have on any of the programs, whether it's, loan packaging, applying for these programs, human resource considerations, contracts, marketing, how to reach out to and touch their customers. And then we also have this resource guide. I always recommend that you don't download this resource guide, because we're literally updating this resource guide on a daily basis. But if you click here, it will give you all the information that we have that's up to date on what's going on with these various programs. If any new programs come up, we try to post those, the morning of. One of the things we're recommending to businesses is contact your insurance provider, get to know your insurance policies. Just like any other disaster, it's important to know what's covered and what's not. It's also important to apply for the unemployment programs. We have a lot of clients going through this, so we understand the weights and some of the frustration with that, but it's very important to keep on trying. There's a whole host of other programs under unemployment. One is the WorkShare program. So that allows you to retain your employees and have your employees' paycheck subsidized by unemployment insurance. And so we can walk you walk employers through those programs. It's really important to track your losses. So understanding if you're applying for an economic injury loan, it's important to understand what your losses are, how your business activity compares with the year prior, as well as helping you forecast that future loss and what you'll need to recover. It's also important to understand your supply chain, because there's a lot of our clients that we're helping guide them through having not only open communication with your customers during this disruption, but having open communication with your suppliers and your vendors. So whether that's renegotiating terms with the landlord, whether that's talking to your domestic or import suppliers, making sure that their performance is going to be on when you need it. So we're walking through clients through all these different issues. And I think it's important to note too that our program is an ongoing program, whether there's a disaster or not. So we'll be there for you continuing on, because let's say that you get one of the loans that are offered, the Paycheck Protection or the economic injury loan. Those things will require some reporting after the fact that we're prepared to help you with. So those are kind of our resources. So we're trying to be both an information resource as well as a direct technical assistance resource for local businesses. And, our heart really goes out. We're literally handling hundreds of calls a day, hearing your stories, and those stories are very important. We've had some success bringing those stories forward to SBA and other organizations, and that feedback and information is really important for us to pass on to the other agencies.
Thank you for that, Ray. And I know we'll hear a little more from Sandra Cordero and from Brian Olson now about their personal experience going through this. Although I did want to give a quick shout out to Mayor Shapiro, who just chimed in over Facebook about someone who owns 3 restaurants who's saying they now have to have a line of credit before granting him a payment protection program, small business loan application, and getting jammed up by their bank. So one of probably many tales of frustration we're getting from the field. I don't want to put you all on the spot too much, but I know you're also very busy people trying to keep your businesses afloat. So Sandra, would you mind kicking us off and just talk a little bit about your amazing cafe and what you put into it and the new site and sort of how you're trying to stay afloat here, and start us off?
Need a mute.
Oh, you're on mute. Let us. Okay, good. You're with us now.
I'm with you now. Hi. Yes, thank you for having me here today, Senator Stern, and for your support so far. Going into week 3 of after the dine-in option was, mandate was that we could only do takeout and deliveries. It has been 3 weeks now, and I have been on so many webinars and talks and all that good stuff, trying to get a loan from the first SBA round to the second one for the EIDL loan. Then now trying to apply for the PPP all day. This site just keeps crashing every time I want to add the final documents. I have an SBDC consultant, but he can only send me links as well so far. So honestly, there's been very little support. So we're just trying to do ourselves as much as we can to stay afloat and survive. But like every day that this goes on longer, the chance of our business surviving is just getting smaller and smaller. And I just want to, remind everybody that the hospitality industry in this state is, we have 1.4 million workers. We've paid sales tax of $7 billion annually. And honestly, on this rate, at least 30%, 40% is going to close permanently. We're not going to be able to come back from this. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but we really need more action and less talk.
And you just, if I remember when you first moved in, you had that little spot on Ventura where you had squeeze in and almost felt like Europe, where you're like standing at the counter fighting for a spot to drink your coffee. But you recently invested big in an expansion too before all this.
We just moved Gasolina Cafe to the newer location. You see the picture behind me. That's our new location. We just tripled our size. I just doubled my employees, and that's another problem that I personally now have, because if my loan is going to be based on my payroll of 2019, that just doubled in the last 4 months. So this loan is not going to be enough. And there's anywhere to write that down, or, I understand the systems are all overwhelmed, but I've been trying to call EDD as an employer, making sure all my employees that I had to furlough, which was 80%.
80%.
That's it. And like the other day, we were kicked off 45 times. I called 45 times, and every time halfway through, we just get disconnected. So it's just, it's definitely getting frustrating, because it just, everybody says, oh, this help's on its way, but
right.
To actually get it, it's just so difficult. And we're still open, trying to do, some business. We also started a program called Buy a Meal for a Healthcare Worker. We've been providing meals for the nurses and the doctors at several hospitals in our area in the San Fernando Valley. We've donated meals to Kaiser Hospital, West Hills, Tarzana, Northridge. We were able, through our website and social media, we sold 700 meals so far. We had a beer company, actually a small Spanish beer company, match 100 meals. So we've delivered 460 so far, and in this week we'll deliver the other 350 that we sold. But again, that's like, now I'm also running like a charity organization.
Yeah, right.
It's like I'm a one-woman shop. I mean, I have a partner and I have great employees that are still trying to do everything they can to help out and all that stuff. But it's getting really tougher every day.
And Brian, I know we love you guys at 818 as well, and you've had similar. It goes beyond headache. Experience with EDD, trying to look out for those employees that you've had to furlough or put on unemployment. Can you just talk a little bit about just a brief bit on your origins, and maybe talk about some of what you've been going through?
Yeah. Again, thanks for having us. When it was started, myself and Derek, my cousin, we started as homebrewers, and had a lot of support from the community, and we opened up a brewery. And from there, we've developed we have a tasting room that has, we're basically a community hub. People come in from all backgrounds and come in and have a pint and share stories, and it's our community. So we started that back in 2015, and right now, the best way I can explain it is we were basically going 200 miles an hour. We just finished an expansion to double our production. We were promoting beer tenders into sales positions and looking to hire. And then we basically hit a wall. And, we told everybody right from the bat that Monday after the talk of the governor and the mayor. We told everybody, hey, file for unemployment. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to furlough you, and we're going to figure this out. Derek and I basically re-engineered our business in a couple of days to handle the to-go business. And now we're just starting to hear back on the EDD. We have 12 employees. 2 of them have errors on their, either the wrong social security number was they entered everything correct, but it was entered on their paperwork incorrectly. And another individual, it's a completely wrong person.
Well, then, Brian, let me jump in. And Henry, I emailed an assembly member to help fix their employees' things, and we haven't heard back yet.
Got it.
Maybe you can help.
let's see if we can do something about it here. You're saying the form itself is, I've been hearing this common complaint of these EDD forms defaulting to some like January 1st, 1900 birthday. Brian, is that along the lines of what you've been seeing? This sort of
yeah, one employee, it's the control number that EDD uses is the same as like the social security sequence. So it's 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits. And they replace the control number with their social security number. And then the other employee, it's just a completely different person. And he emailed and said, hey, maybe there's some fraud going on here or someone compromised my account. And they came back and said, everything looks good. So it's just one of those things where you just know it's going to get lost in the shuffle. And where do you go?
That's right. Can you just one more comment we were hoping for on this non-essential essential business issue? You know, this has been coming up a lot. Has that been a challenge for you all too, Brian?
Yeah, this last week was pretty trying on us. We were given up. So without the chamber or the CCBA, Brewers Association, Derek and I were re-engineering the business, and then they were funneling us information like, hey, you guys are good to operate. You can still do to-go sales. At the state level, the ABC changed a lot of regulations for breweries. And we've just been operating as a to-go and delivery business. We got visited by Department of Building and Safety last Thursday. Just walked up and said, you guys need to shut down. And I asked them why. And there was no real reason why. It's just, you need to shut down. And we have information from Homeland Security to ABC level, and then LA County approves breweries.
But let's follow up with that, Brian. So afterward, they said if he doesn't shut down, they're going to send the police. So Vice came by and told him he was okay.
Yeah, Vice came by on Friday.
Then the city attorney's office called, which we think was more of a robo type call where their wires are crossed, telling him he needs to shut down. So I've been working with the city attorney's office. I worked all weekend also with Brian Sedge, who's now with Strategies 360. And we've been in touch with everyone. And I just talked just before this call with Maria, Mike Fuhrer's assistant, to try and get some sort of answer for them, because obviously LADBS, Vice, and the city attorney are not talking. They're saying they don't sell food, so they're not allowed to be open. But he could sell potato chips. He could sell snacks. He just doesn't.
Well, and beyond that, we're open because the community is supporting us. I mean, we have, and every day, placing orders, getting to-go orders, and we're still the community hub. And this is where they can't come in here and enjoy the beer, but they're taking it home. You know, we send them with coasters and peanuts and to try and experience that tasting room experience. But this is something that's their normal. And to pull that
the law allows them to be open. The governor's the governor's order allows them to be open. Homeland Security under because their production and distribution and conserved food allows it. Every county in the state of California allows it. It's just Mayor Garcetti said no breweries without food. Only in the city of LA. So you could go to San Fernando Brewing, you could go to Burbank, go to Pasadena, anywhere else.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian. I just had to get
well,
that
hopefully this platform elevates this. And I know some of our folks from the press have tuned in and will hopefully hear your story, and you can be darn sure we'll be following up as well, both on your EDD issue as well as trying to resolve this with the city. I would ask those of you who are following our live feed too, please visit 818 Brewing's website, as well as Sandra and Gasolina Cafe's incredible Feed a Healthcare Worker program, and go buy a few meals right now, even if it's 1 or 2 lunches. It'll do a lot. So look for our feed. You'll see those links below. But I know there are a lot of other folks who have emailed who can't video in right now, but have had similarly harrowing experiences and frustrating interactions with both state and local government. I'm going to name a few right now. Mark from LA says he's just trying to figure out what loan programs are best for him right now, and trying to figure out where to turn to for advice. And Julie is saying they're still paying rent for their business's space, even though they have no revenue stream and no one's even working there. They're not essential and they're not in a gray area at all. Maybe, Ray, do you think you could just jump in briefly and just talk a little bit about what at least the official resources are? And I know Sandra's been trying to go, for instance, through the front door on getting some of these types of loans and hasn't been successful so far. So Ray, if you want to talk about a few of the products, and Sandra, you can feel free to weigh in on behalf of everyone else out there and see what those, it sounds good on paper, but then when it actually gets down to going through the process, you hit X, Y, and Z roadblock that you just can't get over. So Ray, tell us how this thing is supposed to work, at least out the gates, and then we'll dig into it further.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I want to say first off is really our experience, the experiences being relayed by our fellow panelists. We're hearing those same sorts of stories, as far as, what's happened with the wait times and getting reactions. I think the things to remember about both these loans, they kind of operate differently. So with the EDIL loan, that's directly through SBA. So SBA is actually the direct lender in that loan. The application process changed several times. So we were actually advising people and walking them through the different forms. And then literally over a weekend, it changed to a faster, hopefully more streamlined process. Now that process takes maybe about 10 minutes, but they quickly sort of triage through. And then after that, if you're approved, then you get a phone call. And based on that phone call, then they ask you for additional information. And then we help our clients walk through that additional information. There's also a checkbox. So if you were part of the first form, they actually ask you to reapply on that form to click off the box for the 10,000. So we've had several clients kind of go through that. Some have gotten their loans and gotten a call where they've said that they're going to get their 10,000. One of the things that we got a lot of feedback on was there were people who were getting the loans, but then shortly after they were approved for an amount, they were actually decreasing those amounts. Now I'm told that has been corrected because there was such a flood of reaction to that. So that's kind of how that loan works. Now, the advantage to the economic injury loan is even though it only gives forgiveness up to about $10,000, it's also a long-term loan. It's 15 to 30 years at about 3.75 interest. And you don't have to start paying that for about 11 months. So that's the advantage with that loan. With the Paycheck Forgiveness Program, the 3P loan, now that has to go through the banks. And so we've seen a lot of different experiences with a lot of different people depending upon who their bank is. One of the things that we've experienced is that the most of the feedback we get from clients who've applied for it is if they don't have an existing relationship with that bank, very few banks have been willing to look at a new client relationship. In fact, I literally only know of one that actually said we're willing to look at new customers. But for the most part, most of the banks have just said we want to talk to our existing clients, and they give a variety of reasons for that. Some say that it's because that way they know the client, it's faster to underwrite. Others talk about security and fraud reasons with vetting accounts quickly. But whatever those reasons are, that seems to be the trend out there with the Paycheck Forgiveness loan. Now, the one area of concern that we have as advisors to clients is the fact that in order to get that forgiveness, you have to track your payroll. And you have to be able to really accurately show what your costs are. We have some clients who are applying for both loans, which you can do, both the EIDL loan as well as the 3P loan. But the thing you have to remember on that is the uses of that money have to be well identified, and they can't cross over from one program to the next. So that's a very important thing. I think what's going to be really critical is to see how the forgiveness part of these loans work. In other words, what is the process by which a bank starts to say, okay, I've got this client, here are these records. So it's unclear to us what the approval process is between SBA and the banks once the loan is given. So as we get information, one of our roles is trying to disseminate the information that we get from our clients, but also the information we get from the field. You know, when our clients experience, you know, we're working with them and they're experiencing different kinds of difficulties, we're literally forwarding those emails, forwarding those replies back to SBA to try to see if corrections can be made. So, and again, with the Paycheck Forgiveness Program, you know, that's a program till June and a 2-year term loan as opposed to the economic injury loan with much longer terms. So I'm always asked, which one is better? Which one should I pick? And it really depends on the structure of the business.
Right. So for a lot of people, a loan is simply too much. I mean, that just the notion of a slow summer and fall, even if we do get through this very quickly and we get over the curve and we start to flatten, you know, taking that chance and having that debt hanging over your head going into the holiday season and not knowing the revenue is going to be there, you know, you're adding more risk. So maybe you don't fail now, but you know, if the business isn't able to get back up on its feet, you're still going to get foreclosed on in some way. I mean, Sandra, I know we've talked about this issue a bit, and I got a few other comments just now over Facebook about some of the collateral folks have been looking for and the risk essentially involved for someone extending themselves. Have you? I mean, what have the banks said to you? I mean, what are you sort of getting back when you try to go through the front door, say with SBDC? Unmute yourself if you don't mind, real quick. Sorry about that.
So we haven't even gotten to it. As I said, I've been applying, but I haven't had any phone call, not from the SBA Direct, not from the PPP. As I said, I'm with Chase Bank. They only went live today, not on Friday, but only today. And the site keeps crashing now since they are open since 2 hours. That's what I was doing just before this call. So we're obviously going to apply, and then hopefully that will get us through. But there is some major concerns about are we going to make the deadline for the forgiveness? Because what we understand so far is that forgiveness is if you can get your workforce back to 75% by June 30th. But we don't know yet when the mandate to stay at home and all that is going to be lifted. So we are looking as independent restaurants to get something like get the workforce back to where it was 90 days after you are open to full capacity again. Because people aren't going to start flocking the restaurant. I'm sure people are going to be still scared and worried, and people aren't going to want to sit in places where you're like packed like sardines, right? So I am sure we're going to take some tables out and actually still do a lot less revenue than we did. I mean, February for us was like the best month we ever did. We were going to start offering health benefits to our employees on April 1st. And I was actually going to start paying myself a salary again for the first time since 3 years. So, you know, I haven't paid myself anything for the last 3 years, just trying to grow my business. Because I was in an SBA program called 10,000 Small Businesses, all about how to grow your business. And I was in a JBF Women Entrepreneurial and Leadership program to grow my business. And all I've been doing is trying to grow my business and become, you know, something that is actually worth something as a business. And creating, jobs, creating jobs that are actually meaningful in hospitality, because, instead of just being in a job, people can actually have a career in the hospitality industry. But we're looking at minimum wage going up July too, which most of us weren't even ready for. And then, there's so many things in the future coming up too that we're going to have to deal with that, really need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed quickly, because as I said, all these things are coming up very soon. So we need a lot of deferrals. Taxes need to be cut for us. Like there's just, I think Brian, can understand my pain. And I think every independent restaurant is really feeling this. We already were living paycheck to paycheck, not just.
Margins are already tight, we know, and to survive.
4%, they're it's one of the businesses that have the smallest margins.
Yep.
So this is just really disastrous to the hospitality industry, and especially to the smaller, under 500, or, we're even, Brian and I have 16 employees, but we work a lot, long hours, long days, and it's.
And you still cook with love, and I don't know, and you still brew with love, Brian, even though you're drinking a water out of a pint glass. I was disappointed to see that, but I don't know how you do it. And for everyone else out there who either works for a small business or owns one, please weigh in with us. And, getting in touch with Ray and becoming one of EDC's clients is a great first step. But even just use our office and lean on us, because we're here to be your advocates too. And so for Sandra and Brian, we're going to be leaning in, and, I'm talking to the governor a little later tonight, along with a few of my colleagues, about some of these issues. And so we are going to share these stories straight through. The same goes, I know, for the folks who work for you. We just got comments from Beth and Lawrence and Dina, Richard, Ian, Lisa, all about the headaches with applying for unemployment insurance. When they're self-employed, when they're independent contractors, when they're gig workers, and the delay times, 45 calls in a day, as Sandra said, others sort of banging their heads against the wall. Know that this is totally unacceptable, and that we are going to be pushing at the state level to build capacity, because frankly, it's a false promise on our part if we dangle a bunch of stimulus and help out there for you and it never reaches you. So just know that the best place to start right now, if you're tuned in here, is send us your information, let us track your case and help you work through this process. But then you've got folks like Ray and Nancy and these chambers out there to help. I did want to pivot over to a worker perspective, though, in addition to some of the questions we've been getting about layoffs, those who are actually going through those layoffs. Do we still have Mr. Almendarez on with Unite here? Walter, are you still there?
Yes.
So can you just give us an update? I know you've been dealing with a lot of members who are facing unemployment from reduced hours as a result of this virus. Can you just provide some of your testimony there, and even maybe weigh in on some of the paid sick laws and other regulations that workers out there may have questions about? I think between you and Danielle, hopefully you guys can help cover some of that ground for us.
Well, yeah, first of all, I just want to tell my story. My name is Walter Almendarez. I work for the Chateau Marmont Hotel in West Hollywood for 23 years. On March 13 was actually my last day. They told me to take a week off vacation. That next week, which was Monday the 16th, they told me to check on April 1st for me to they want to reschedule me for a few days. On March 19, I got an email saying that I was actually laid off and terminated. On March 20, which is on Friday, I was in shock because, I gave 23 years to my boss which is worth I don't know how many millions of dollars. And for him and my coworkers, for him just to throw us on the street with no insurance, no health insurance. I have a 7-month daughter with me. I got my parents that depend on me, and I have no income coming right now. I had no health insurance for my 7-month daughter, and I'm super worried about what's going to happen in the future.
And I read the LA Times article about Chateau Marmont's behavior through this crisis, and frankly find it shameful when a lot of our other hotels have found some ways to help their workers through no notice, and to throw you out after 20 years is unsettling to say the least. But to everyone out there who may think it's an elegant and fancy and fun place, please weigh in with Chateau Marmont if you hear Walter's story here, and let them know your disgust with that kind of activity. Walter, you know, we're going to try to help you get through this unemployment insurance process and hopefully get cash into your hands in the next few weeks here. You should be eligible for the full spectrum of programs, but I don't know, Danielle, I mean, you have a broad swath of members out there, but are you guys running into the same headaches with EDD that other people are having in terms of how to actually apply?
Thank you, Senator. And Walter, thank you for sharing your story. To be clear, Walter works at a hotel that is not represented by our union. And so, you know, both, unfortunately, this is the case for a lot of these bad actors out there. But on the union side, we've been able to negotiate with employers that represent about 70% of our members to at least extend health insurance coverage. But, you know, our industry was one of the first hit. I mean, other folks have echoed the fact that the hospitality industry has never seen anything like this. 9/11 does not compare to this. 2008 does not compare to this. We are looking at more than 90% of our membership facing layoffs. And so the first few weeks of this have just been relief, getting folks help applying for unemployment insurance, which, you know, has been going decently well, actually. We've been doing appointments, one-on-one appointments with folks. So luckily that's been going pretty well. You also asked about some of the new paid sick leave laws for folks who may be facing similar circumstances to Walter. And I should preface this by saying, you know, as with most rules and regulations, most situations will require more case-by-case attention. But broadly speaking, you know, the federal government recently expanded paid sick leave requirements that mandate about 80 hours of paid sick leave for full-time employees. You know, Senator, that the state already mandates about 3 days of sick leave. At the federal level, the expansion was for businesses that employ fewer than 500 employees, and this is done through a tax credit process. And then recently, the city and county of LA have expanded this requirement to businesses with more than 500 employees. Unfortunately, I can't speak to Ventura County, but hopefully something similar is going on there. So, you know, a good start, but it's just a very, very tough time for working families.
And I know Michelle, who was weighing in over, I think it was Facebook, was asking if could a worker actually qualify for unemployment if they leave their job out of fear of contracting the virus. There's a lot of exposure out there. And the answer we've been able to derive is yes, you are eligible for unemployment insurance if you have a risk of exposure, but the unemployment insurance process may be a bit prolonged, as Danielle said, as each one of these cases is reviewed independently. But you are still eligible for benefit review, but you don't qualify for these benefits to receive the benefits if you just leave your job. You've got to have something else in there beyond just leaving it arbitrarily. You've got to be leaving it out of risk of exposure because the new stimulus package does allow for substantial new funding for that kind of unemployment. I also know that, Danielle, you've had the concerns among your members about plans for hotels and other spaces your members work in. Any quick comments there, since you're working so closely with the hospitality industry?
Sure. I mean, in general, we're very supportive of the governor's plans to house COVID-19 patients and homeless folks in vacant hotels and motels. I just want to lift up one good actor who has agreed to the language that we've already come up with around this kind of process. DFS at LAX, which is it operates concessions there, has agreed to our language, which proposes several safety provisions for workers, because of course we want this to be an opportunity for folks to be brought back to work, but we want them to be brought back to work safely, of course. So DFS, great actor, had to close the workplace for 2 weeks, but still were able to pay all their workers for those 2 weeks. And I know that kind of company is not similar to some of the small businesses that we're talking about, but this is the kind of example that we'd like the hotel industry to follow.
And Mr. Almendarez, do you mind sharing with us what you're working on to help ensure that individuals like you can return to your job after all this is done? What have you heard on that front, and in your specific case, or maybe more broadly?
Well, actually, we are working to pass a policy in Los Angeles County for us to get our job back by seniority. I'm also concerned also for my coworkers. Most of my coworkers gave all their life. I know a guy that gave 43 years of his life to this hotel, and he's about 62. Also, I commute. I live in Palmdale. I commute 120 miles a day just to get to the Chateau Marmont. And I have a housekeeping lady that been there, I think I would say 26 years, and we commute daily. And she's 66 years old. If we don't pass this policy, these people that are older than me, it's going to be so difficult for them to get a job back. These people don't have money to retirement, and I don't think Social Security will be enough for them. Yeah. So this law must pass for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And that's in LA County right now. So if people are supportive of that, they can weigh in. They can follow up, I would assume, with Unite Here and weigh in with LA County.
Yep. City of LA, County of LA. I can also link stuff in the comments below.
Yeah, please do. Feel free. And I know I know Beth and Lawrence and Dina had questions, and then we've been getting a lot of sort of frustrated comments from our live stream about the guidelines for self-employed or independent contractors or gig workers who maybe aren't in your, Walter's spot, or the people who work at Sandra's restaurant or Brian's brewery, but who have their own business, or who are driving Uber or Lyft, or the problem, and I will explain this to you all, is that the federal stimulus money says you are eligible, but it doesn't say exactly how the process is going to work. So the state's whole unemployment insurance architecture that's ready to get you money in theory once they release it is still waiting on guidelines from back east, from the federal administration. And so we're trying to work to get a unified voice, at least within California, and from our governor, to expedite that so that we can start getting you in line. But I will just tell you right now, to get in queue and start the process, please reach out to us and let us help casework some of this for you. If you are running into these problems as an independent contractor, self-employed, and we will try to steer you through this process. But I'm telling you, in a matter of days, those guidelines will be there for exactly what you have to demonstrate. We already have, however, waived the requirement. There's usually a 1 week delay in unemployment insurance, so that requirement's been waived, as well as the requirement that you have to be out there actively looking for new employment. You do not have to show that at current under the new requirements with EDD. So hopefully the paperwork threshold, once you get through the door, will be much lower, and the money will get to you faster. It'll end up looking like whatever you're eligible under state law, plus an additional $600 a week from the feds. And I should mention at this point too, those of you who are in this situation, the other pathway to get immediate cash from the government is not going to be through unemployment insurance, but it's going to be through the IRS. So if you have not filed your taxes in 18 or 19, you've got to get that done now, because the $1,500 or $1,200 per individual and $500 per child that you'll be eligible for is connected to that tax return being filed. So hopefully you guys know the acronym by now of the IRS. It's not the nicest acronym, I know, but we'll have a link in our stream to make sure you're getting in line for that $1,500, which the Treasury Secretary said would be in your hands in 2 weeks. I pray that he's right, and we are rooting for them back east to succeed in this. This is not a partisan issue. So we're going to be pressing them incredibly hard based on some of the feedback you've been giving us. I would also encourage you, though, to weigh in with your member of Congress. Guarantee that we'll be loud on the need to immediately get money out to the independent contractors and self-employed, but also weigh in with your member of Congress. The more they hear from you, even if you're just tweeting at them, sending a comment on their Facebook, calling their office, you need to be noisy about that right now. So use us as your megaphone, and we'll be doing the same. I wanted to move on for our final stage. I know it's 5 o'clock now, and we've got one more little chunk of work we want to cover, which is on community engagement. And despite some of the hardships that you guys are facing, trying to figure out how we can better pitch in and help during these really tricky times. So, Brian, I know you guys have been doing some very creative work with your alcohol making capacity and maybe putting it to less spirited uses and looking at hand sanitizer production. Can you walk us through how that process has gone for you and how we can better help plug in folks like you who are willing to step up, and even though you're facing a mountain of hurt there, that you're still willing to try?
Yeah, so the FDA lifted the regulations on hand sanitizer to let breweries and distilleries create hand sanitizer. The problem we're having is the raw ingredient, alcohol, obviously why there's a shortage on it. So we are working, just before this call, I was on with a distillery that can make us the alcohol, and then they can ship it to us. We have the equipment here to make it, the tanks and everything. So West Hills Hospital has already reached out. They're running short. And just our local breweries can produce this product and get it into the hands of the community. So the part right now is getting the raw ingredients, and that's been the tough part.
And so those of us who may have access to those kinds of ingredients out in the network, let us help connect you with folks like Brian. If you do have those resources to put those pots and pans, that's not the right word. Those distilling.
Yeah.
I'm not.
All fermenters, yeah.
But we got to put your infrastructure to work and hopefully bring in some additional help that way too. I know also we mentioned earlier Sandra's Feed a Healthcare Worker initiative, which we didn't tell you this yet, Sandra, but we're going to be buying a couple $1,000s worth of lunches through you, but matching folks right now who come on either through this stream or in the days ahead who want to provide that. I know you have a Spanish beer maker too. What is it, Estrella Galicia or something like that?
Yeah.
Galicia? Do I need to do my Spanish?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Galicia, yeah.
They already matched 100 meals, and we sold, when we announced it, we sold like 280. So that was a great success. And yeah, we'd love anybody who'd love to do a match again or people can go on our website, gasolinacafe.com, and there's a button right there, buy a meal for a healthcare worker. Then every meal that gets bought, we oh, now you guys are going to match some more. And yeah, then we make the meals at Gasolina and then deliver them at the hospitals. And
yeah, it's huge. I mean, we know that there's, the hospitals are doing everything they can. And I know there's a lot of tension there and folks are frustrated. But frankly, the lack of resources and personal protective equipment and testing is not their fault.
No.
And so the bulk of the blame goes to us in government who have not prepared adequately for this crisis. And I don't think it's fair to point fingers at anywhere, even back east right now. So I think what you're doing just to build some camaraderie and step up for these people. My sister's an OBGYN right now, delivering babies. And I just, it's beyond me the bravery that it takes to go do that, put your life on the line to go.
There are true heroes. There are true heroes right now. I mean, I have one of the ER doctors, he comes and we go and deliver the meals and he's telling me some stories and they are really going through, they're really front and it's really scary and they don't have enough, as you say, equipment, protection. So we just try to, give them a little morale booster and give them a real nice meal. And we let people write a comment that we print out for them so they have something to read and that can hopefully just, give them a little boost for the day and keep doing the work they're doing because they're really the ones that are out there saving lives right now.
So even if you're tuning in and you maybe don't have the money to give to buy one of these meals yourself, you may know of other ways to contribute. You may have an hour of time to give to do our neighbor to neighbor program and check in on seniors in your neighborhood who need help. You may actually have the capacity to go help us with food delivery with our local Meals on Wheels partners. You may actually know somebody with manufacturing capacity with the ability to say, make some masks, even at a small scale. Maybe you are at a school where they have a 3D printer that they can actually make face shields right now. Know that we want our office to be a hub, and at a broader level, we're collaborating with the governor, the mayor, and everyone in LA to sort of be your front door. If you have any act of generosity you can give, bring it to us, and we will make sure it finds the need. There will be no bottlenecking, and this isn't time to fight for credit or have turf or jurisdiction. So we're really trying to unify the governor's fund, the mayor's fund. The county is currently doing distribution of critical PPE to healthcare personnel. There are 4 sites around the county. But we're going to be launching a much bigger effort in the coming days to really give you a nice, easy front door to just do what you can. But even if you have kids there who have done their 15th TikTok, this is not, you can perfect that dance move, but know that your idle hands could be put to work to go save lives or to go take care of folks. So please follow up with us. But for those of you who need help, before we wrap up, please reach out via email or any of these channels and let us do this casework for you and work you through the process. Walter, you're brave to tell your story today. Brian and Sandra, you're busy beyond words and your testimony is huge today. And know that I'm about to get off this call and go speak with the governor and his team and relay this directly. So your frustration is going somewhere. There is not a brick wall here, and we're going to do our best. All the feeds are below. The links are there, and we're staying open. And so bless you all for the work you're doing. And I don't know if anyone else had any closing comments, but I just want to thank my staff too, Megan in my office, and who's been doing an amazing job, and Josh and Jeremy, and everyone has, people at home, and Nick. Thank you guys. Everyone has their own issues to deal with. I got to go deal with my father-in-law before I talk to the governor, make sure he's behaving himself, that he didn't escape today out to Ralph's. So my wife just walked in. I think this is good news, but we love you, and we are going to get through this, and just hang on. This cannot be an era of false promises or self-congratulation. We just got to get to work. So bless y'all. And we'll stay in touch. We'll be coming back with another town hall in the next few days to dig deeper. But thank you all for your testimony today.
Okay.
Take good care out there. If you leave the home, mask on, right? Mask on. I don't know where my Bandito mask is, but mask on. Okay.